Hello everyone and welcome back to our course on Word 2019. We're now down in section 13, module 1, where we're going to start to talk a little bit about building blocks. Now, if you've never heard of building blocks before, they're a really useful little utility that you'll find across all of the Microsoft applications, which basically allow you to insert different things into your documents. So let's take something as an example so you can see what I mean. I'm currently clicked on the Insert ribbon, and you'll see in this first group we have a few different options, but the top one here is called Cover Page. And if I click it, you'll see lots of different cover pages that I could just put onto the front of my document. And you can see as I scroll through, there's quite a few different ones in there. Now, these are essentially what we call quick parts or building blocks. And they're pre-designed pieces of content which just make your life a lot easier. So instead of going in and using shapes and text to create maybe this banded cover page, I can just jump into here, I can select that, and it gives me my cover page. Okay, so a really nice way of adding something very quickly. I'm just going to undo just to remove that. And other examples of building blocks would be something like our headers and footers. So again, if I just click the drop down underneath header, we have lots of different types of header that we can insert. And again, these are what we call building blocks, pre-designed pieces of content that we can just drop into our document when we need them. Now, of course, along with the pre-designed ones, you can create your own quick parts. And you'll hear me saying quick parts and building blocks kind of interchangeably because they are kind of the same kind of thing. And if I go up to the Insert ribbon here, all the way across in this text group, you'll see we have a quick parts drop down where we can access all of our quick parts. So if I hover over auto text, you'll see I don't currently have any text blocks being listed. So what auto text essentially is I could come into my document and I could maybe highlight this first paragraph. I could save it as auto text, and it just means that if I want to reuse this paragraph in either in this document or in another one, instead of typing it all out, I can simply go back up to my quick parts, go to auto text, and it will be listed there, and I can just click it to insert it into my document. So essentially what you're doing is you're reusing pieces of content, and we are going to look at that more fully in the next module. I can then do things like insert document properties. So these are also considered to be quick parts. So if I wanted things like who the author of the document was, if there are any comments, I can choose to insert those quick parts into my document as well. I could insert different fields. And if we click that, it will take me into my fields list. And there are so many different things in here, which I'm not going to get into in any great detail right now, but you could insert different fields into your document. So a field might be something along the lines of a table of contents if you wanted to put one of those in. And then finally in this drop down, we have something called the building blocks organizer. Now this is where all of your building blocks or your quick parts are saved. And you can see here there's a few pieces of information we need to provide in order to save a building block. So you can see here we need to select a name for our building block. We need to assign it to a gallery. We need to give it a category, a template if we have one, behavior and description. And you'll see in here the current quick parts that we have access to. So I could insert a bibliography if I wanted to. And if I scroll down, you'll see in the preview window what a lot of these are. So we have things like page numbers in there. All of these are different quick parts. And if you wanted to insert one, for example, you can just select it. So let's just select that one. Click on Insert and it will insert it into your document. So it is worth having a little scroll through and seeing what all of those quick parts are all about. Now obviously this is an organizer, so again you can also do things like edit any quick part that you're currently clicked on, and you can also delete it from the list. And we're going to come back to this in just a moment. Just going to close out of there. So essentially a quick part is just reusable content, either one that's already in Word or a piece of content that you've created and saved to your quick parts gallery. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to show you how to save your own piece of content to quick parts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this title where it says Smith Properties and I'm going to apply some formatting to it. So we should be fairly used to doing this by now. I'm going to add a border around the outside. So I'm going to say I want a box border. I'm going to make it dark blue and I'm going to give it quite a wide border, and we're going to do some shading, just a light blue colour. Click on OK, and maybe I want to make my text a bit bigger as well. Now, what if I want to reuse this heading over and over again in different documents? Instead of having to type it out and then apply all that formatting individually, I could just save this entire title as a quick part. So how do we go about doing that? Well, it's very simple. We just select the heading, we go to Insert, we go to the Quick Parts drop down, and now we have an option for Save Selection to Quick Part Gallery. And there we go. We now have to give our quick part or building block a name. So I'm going to say this is Smith title. I choose a gallery to save it to. Now I could save it to any of these galleries. I'm just going to keep it on the General Quick Parts gallery. The category here is General. It's the only one that we have set up. Now, if you wanted to create your own categories, you could do that. So maybe if you've got lots of quick parts, maybe you want to create a gallery called Logo or Images, just to organize them a bit better. You could do that. But I'm going to keep mine on General. You could write a description for your quick parts. So I might want this to say something like Smith Properties formatted title, something along those lines. I'm going to save in the building blocks template, which is fine. You don't need to change that. And my option here is I can choose to insert content only, insert content in its own paragraph, or insert content in its own page. Now, I want to insert the content only. So essentially, wherever I'm clicked, it's going to insert my quick part. And I'm going to click OK. All right, let's test that out. I'm going to delete out this heading. I'm going to give myself a spare line at the top. I'm going to go back up to my quick parts drop down, and now would you look at that, in that general group we have my logo, so I can select it like so, and I could reuse that across different documents. So hopefully you can see some of the advantages you have there. If you do have pieces of content that you use over and over again, as I said, it might be something like logos or headings or maybe paragraphs of text. Just highlight, save them to your quick parts gallery, and then they're there for you to reuse over and over again. So that's it on how building blocks and quick parts work. In the next module, I want to show you how auto text works. So please join me for that. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our course on Word 2019. In this section, we've been exploring quick parts and building blocks. And now in module 3, I want to talk to you a little bit about auto text. And if you remember, we had a brief look at auto text in the previous module, but I want to show you how this works. I also want to show you a cool little efficiency tip, which I think you're really going to like. Now, auto text, again, is a quick part, and it works fairly similar to what we've already done, except it applies to text. So, for example, I have this first paragraph here, the About Us paragraph. Now, maybe this is a paragraph of text that you have in your document that you want to reuse over and over again. If that's the case, instead of retyping it each time you want to reuse it, you can save it as a piece of auto text. So how do we do that? Well, we start out by selecting the text we want to use. And staying on this insert ribbon, we're going to go back across to quick parts. We're going to go to auto text, and the option that I have is save selection to auto text gallery. So this is the same little window that popped up when we were saving our title. I need to give my building block a name, so I'm just going to keep it on About Us. I'm going to save it to the gallery, auto text. And I'm going to keep it in the general category. And as always, you could type a description if you wanted to. I'm happy to save it into the normal .m, which means it's going to be available across my documents as I create them. But in this options drop down, previously we inserted the content only. But this time, because it is a paragraph of text, I want to say insert content in its own paragraph. And I'm going to click on OK. So now let's make sure that that works. I'm going to press the delete key on my keyboard. I'm going to go up to my quick parts drop down. I'm going to go to auto text. And what do you know? There is our piece of auto text that we just created. And all I need to do is click it, and it puts that paragraph in its own paragraph. Now, something else that's really cool, I'm just going to delete this out one more time. What you can also do is if I start to type in the first line, so it says about, can you see that after I've typed in the first 4 characters, Word has recognized that I might possibly want to use my quick parts. And just above, it's got a little bit of text which identifies that piece of auto text to me. If I want to insert it, all I need to do is press the Enter key, and there we go. So an even quicker way of doing it. I think that's a really, really cool little tip. So just type in the first 4 characters and it will recognize any auto text you have set up. So that's how building blocks, quick parts and auto text work. The only thing left for us to do here is a quick practice exercise before we move on to section 14, where we're going to start to talk about indexing and tables of contents. So please join me for that. Hello everyone and welcome back to our course on Word 2019. We're now down into the section 13 practice exercise, where I want you to practice all the skills we learnt in this section in relation to our page setup options. So the first thing I'd like you to do for me is to open the file called Module 13 Practice, and I want you to insert a cover page at the beginning of the document. I want you to select the heading, What is Books and Beyond, and the following paragraph. And I want you to save this selection to the Quick Parts gallery as an auto text entry. Then in the Building Blocks Organizer, I want you to just delete the cover page called Motion. Once again, in the Building Blocks Organizer, I'd like you to edit the properties of the cover page called Austin to the name Austin 2. And then I want you to save and close the file. Wonderful job, everyone. We are ready to move on to the next section, so I will see you over there.